Hello, welcome to the Villa View. We tried a live Q&A last week with Matt, and it seemed to go quite well. He did a very good job, so hopefully I will manage to do as good a job, if not better job, as he did last week. So keep your questions coming in. We've had quite a few in already, so I apologise in advance if there's any technical difficulties that there probably will be, because I'm not a professional and I've never done this before. So we've had some questions in, so I'll start now. The first one has come in from Alex James. He's actually sent in two questions, and he's asked me who I think will be our top scorer and assister this season. Off the top of my head, if he stays, then I'd say that Jordan Ayew will probably be our top scorer. I'd say him and Gusted are probably the two strikers that are most likely to stay. I still don't get it with Gusted. I mean, I hope that he'll score goals in the Championship, but to be honest, I don't see it, and his confidence didn't look great last season. So I'd be surprised if he was to bag in a load of goals. But Ayew's the one who I think he's obviously scored today. If he stays fit and we manage to hold on to him, he would be the one who I would see being our top scorer, because he's probably our best player, bar Grealish, on the ball, I'd say, and he's got a good strike on him. So I'd expect him to score goals in the Championship because he looked dangerous in the Premier League most of the time. Assist-wise, I'll probably go for Grealish. I mean, I think everyone knows that I rate him very highly. I made a very bold statement the other day about him going on to be the best player in the Championship this coming season, and I stand by that. I think that can happen. You know, he's obviously scored today, and I think if he gets a bit of confidence, which I think his confidence did take a massive hit last season, then he's going to be the absolute key player for us. I think he is our best player on his day, and he's definitely our most exciting player. So I'd expect him, when he's got a bit of confidence, if he manages to stay clear of injuries, I would expect him to go on and be our top assister, to be honest. Alex James has sent in another one. I could answer it very shortly, I think, but he's asked me if I think that Lescott is going to be, his experience is going to be valuable to us this season. The short answer would be no, I don't think so. He was on the bench today, which says to me that something could be in the pipeline, and I'd expect him to be off. I mean, I know he got an assist, but I haven't seen any of the goals. I haven't been at either of the games. But I hear he got an assist. But the fact that he hasn't started today and that Toner started ahead of him, not starting two games or in either of the game, I'd say that Lescott's probably going to be off. And to be honest, we're quite well stocked at centre back. I mean, I've said that I can see Clark being sold, but I'd rather see Lescott go before I see Clark go. I mean, I think, to be honest, both will go, because we've got Toner, Okore, Elphick and Baker, who I think will make up the four centre-backs. And then we've got Niall Mason and Sullivan coming through as well, who I think can maybe take up the mantle of fifth-choice central defender. So, yeah, I don't see Lescott being invaluable. And to be honest, as much as I will be prepared to give everyone a clean slate once the season starts, if he's still here, I will back him, but I don't want Lescott to still be here after what went on last season. Staying on the topic of people who are perhaps unwanted, Matt Sharp has tweeted in earlier asking me my thoughts on Mika Richards and saying he wouldn't have a problem with him at right back, but he can't seem to stay fit. Richards is one I haven't got a massive issue with. I mean, out of him, Bakuna, Lescott, Guzan and Abon Lahore are the ones that fans probably seem to want to see the back of the most, and rightly so for the other four, I'd say. But with Richards, I don't think he did too much wrong off the field last season. I think he did try and lead us. I just don't want to see him play at centre-back, because he isn't a centre-back. But then on the flip side as well, if you've got him at right-back, I'm not sure his body can take the demands of playing as a full-back bombing forward as much as they used to. But as it stands, I think he is probably our best option there. I mean, I know there's people that like Alan Hutton and rate Alan Hutton, but he's not one of my favourites, as you know. So as it stands, Richards would probably be the one who I'd be starting at right back. But I'd be surprised if we didn't get one in, and I'd be very, very surprised if Richards remained captain like he was last season. So moving on, Teveridge UK has asked, what are my thoughts on us still conceding early goals, as was shown today on a couple of occasions where both games we've obviously conceded first and we've conceded relatively early. I think last season it was a problem. I don't think it's been a symptom in the seasons before that. I mean, I should say a bigger problem is, rather than conceding early goals, I think a massive issue is the fact that we do always seem to concede first. And when we do concede first, we never ever really seem to go on and do anything, and that's been the case for 6 years now. We've obviously got a new defender in Elphick, and everyone's trying to get used to a new way of playing. And it's in friendlies as well. It's different teams every week. You're playing next to a different guy each time, so we're not going to look too organised. Although it is worrying to concede against teams like Telford and Worcester so early. Yes, but I think once the season starts, I think that kind of thing will be ironed out. We'll have a settled back four as the pre-season goes on. You're going to have more of an idea of what Di Matteo sees as being his best team. So I would expect as the last maybe one or two friendlies, you will see the back four that Di Matteo is going to start with in that first game at Hillsborough at Sheffield Wednesday. So I think as time goes on, if we're still conceding early goals with what I expect to be our first choice back four, then maybe I will be worried, because obviously we've shipped a lot of goals, and obviously we've shipped a lot of goals first. But for now, I'm not that worried about it. I think you can't put too much on pre-season at this stage, especially when you're playing two different squads in one day. I'm not massively worried as it stands. Someone else has tweeted, I'm not absolutely sure who it is, so I apologise for that, saying, is Gini being overrated slightly simply because he isn't Guzan? Well, first off, I think anyone in goal that isn't Guzan is going to be a step up as it stands. I mean, he's obviously quite highly rated, and the fact that Juventus wanted him to shadow Buffon, be the second choice keeper this season, probably does speak volumes. I mean, he's obviously going to have a knowledge of the English game coming through Man U as well. I mean, you can hear when he talks, he's got a hint of a British accent, only a hint. I'm probably been a bit over the top there, but I think he made a good start in his first game. I don't think he had too much to do, but obviously not conceding in his first game was a good start in Austria. He's obviously shipped one today early, as we've mentioned before, but I'm not too worried. I mean, I'm not 100% sure that he will start the season. If he's looking dodgy or suspect in pre-season, Di Matteo's got two other goalkeepers at the moment in Bunn and Steer, who have championship experience. So maybe if Di Matteo feels that he's not bedding in as he should be, then perhaps maybe Bunn or Steer will start the season because of having that championship experience. But he has obviously been brought in to be our long-term number one, and I've heard good things about him. I've heard that he's quite commanding. He looks a good shot stopper. The only criticism I've really heard of him is that he parries a lot, but I'm not sure how true that is, because I've only heard that on social media. And as you know, you can hear a lot of garbage on social media, so that may or may not be true. But I don't think he's being overrated. I think people are just pleased to see the back of Guzan, and Guzan will go. There's absolutely no way Guzan will start the season in goal for Villa. Not a chance. So hopefully Gini can come in and do well, and I'm excited about him personally. So yeah, that's good. Let's have a quick drink. Yes, this is a Toy Story cup. Before anyone says anything to me about that. Brian Smith's asked, who will play the biggest role this season? Russian Hepburn Murphy, Andre Green, Toner, or Jordan Lydon? I think before pre-season started, I probably would have said I expected Lydon, but obviously he's injured, so we haven't seen anything of him yet. And obviously we've brought in a new midfielder in Tishbola, so I don't think Lydon will be starting the season. Hepburn Murphy's obviously scored today, and as Keenan Davies has scored as well, so throw him into the mix as well. He might be with an outside chance of being in the 18 come the first day. I think Green, a lot depends on what happens with Traore. I think obviously if Traore stays, which I personally don't think he will, I think Green will be in with a decent shout of being in the first match day squad, just because we haven't really got any other natural wingers. I mean, I'm hoping to God Di Matteo doesn't see Bacuna as the answer as a natural winger, because if he is the answer, I'm not sure what the question is. It's not a very good question, certainly. I think Hepburn Murphy. I think if Gabby goes, Hepburn Murphy may be that fourth choice striker. It still wouldn't surprise me to see Kozak go as well. I think Gested and Ayo asserts to stay, providing no one comes in and meets a clause that I presume AU's got, because there's one thing about when Tom Fox was there, he loved sticking a dodgy clause in the contracts. I think Hepburn Murphy, if I was going to have to make a shout now, it would be him. I mean, I think Tim Sherwood rated him quite highly, obviously brought him on for his debut at a very young age. He should have had some cameos at the end of last season under the disaster that was Eric Black. I mean, I think he's not got much size about him, but I think he's actually quite strong and powerful. He's obviously quick. and he's been a good finisher moving through the age group. So Hepburn Murphy would definitely be my pick out of those players at the moment to make the biggest impact. Daz at Villa Fans has tweeted in saying, still seems as though RDM is experimenting with all the players. Do you think he knows who he wants to let go? I thought after performances last season, he would know who he wanted to let go. Is it just a case of keeping everyone fit so it will help with the potential sale? It's a good question. I think, yes, he is trying to keep certain players fit. I mean, we know for a fact that he's called in and spoken to players and said, look, I don't want you at the club. Yeah, so far, nearly everyone has been. In fact, I think everyone who hasn't been injured has been involved so far. So there obviously is a case that he's trying to keep some people fit for sale. I don't see Lescott staying. I don't see Gabby staying at the moment. I think he is just giving them fitness. He obviously knows who he wants to let go. But the other thing is he may have to let go of people that he doesn't want to let go. I mean, we saw that Garner was heavily linked with a move away, and we know he has got a release clause. I just mentioned Ayew before as well. So there's potential that he could lose some players that he does not want to lose, which then if he doesn't lose Ayew before maybe trying to sell out Bonlahor, then could have Bonlahor end up staying just by virtue of Ayew going. I mean, he won't want that to happen, but it is something that we've got to think about. But to answer the question, yeah, I think he does know who he wants to let go, and I would expect a couple of outgoings in the next couple of weeks. I also think we will see a couple of outgoings before we see anyone come in, to be honest. Someone else has tweeted in. Again, I don't know who it is because I'm just having these questions fired over to me. Were the two results from today promising, considering the likes of Hepburn Murphy having 2 games today and Di Matteo seeing 2 games? I think obviously the amount of games we lost last season, we're not in a position to be judging too much. I mean, I think 2 wins out of 2 obviously is the best we can hope for. I mean, I understand there was some booing today, which I find ridiculous. But then I suppose at the moment it wouldn't be a Villa game if there wasn't some booing from the fans in there. I mean, and the booing rightly happened last season. But I think there needs to be a fresh start this season. We need to get behind the team. Booing of our own cannot happen. But yeah, I think it's good to win 2 games, however they come. I mean, obviously we've left it quite late in the first game, and the second game has been pretty comfortable in the end. Everyone's had a run out. That's a positive. So Di Matteo is going to be learning from training, but he's going to learn a lot from these games as well. Although I do think most of it is about fitness. He's going to see what people can and cannot do. I mean, I don't think you would have expected Ali Sissoko to pop up with a header today. I think if I'd have had to put money on a goal scorer, I think he would have probably been the last person I would have put money on. But yeah, 2 wins out of 2. We can't ask for any more than that. I'm happy. I'm sure Di Matteo's happy too, and I'm sure he's learned stuff. Keep going down. We've had in which players will realistically leave the club, as RDM needs to trim the squad before he adds to it. I mean, I've spoke about this a bit already, so I'm probably going to be in danger of repeating myself. Lescott, I think, is gone. Guzan's gone. I'll be shocked if Gabby doesn't go. I think there will be a bit of redemption for Richards, and I also think there may be a bit of redemption for Bacuna, which won't please people just because he can play in a few positions. I mean, he's the one who I think the fans dislike the most, which might be a bit of a dodgy thing to say, but I think he's the one who's got the most ground to make up with the fans, because his comments were so ill-advised and so ill-timed, and his performances on the pitch were terrible. I did used to like him, to be honest. I do think there is a decent, not anything special, there is a decent player in there somewhere. I think his position is right back if he's going to play. Every time he's played in midfield, he hasn't impressed me. I think as a right back, he probably offers more than Hutton at the moment. So if Richards is going to be starting the season at right back, if we don't get someone else in, I would expect maybe Bacuna to act as the backup for him. And as much as it seems harsh on Hutton, I think Bacuna does slightly edge Hutton for me, but neither are great at what they do, to be honest. But just by virtue of the fact that Bacuna can play a couple of positions, I think he'll stay. Sanchez is one who I think will move on, and rightly so. I mean, I've never seen a midfielder who's so inconsistent. I mean, his Remy Gard's first game against Man City, I thought he was very, very good. I mean, I even wrote something about him in one of my blogs about how good I thought he was. But then over the next few weeks, the guy just has brain farts. I think he just forgets where he is sometimes. I mean, he'll be on the edge of his own penalty area. Some of his decision-making and passing is just awful. I mean, I did used to defend him under Lambert because I thought he kept the ball well and he put himself about. But I've never seen a guy who's so he'll have a horrific game, bad passes, the works, giving the ball away, costing goals. And then you'll see a few days later on Twitter, the guy is posting pictures of himself saying, I am the Rock. I mean, I'm not really sure what that's about, to be honest. So he's one who I don't think will be suited to the Championship. And I think Di Matteo will know that. So I think him moving on will probably be a good thing. Steers one, I don't know whether he will end up staying, because he seems like, from what he did at Huddersfield, he's ready for first team football. So if he's only going to be on the bench for us, he's only going to be third choice behind Bunn and Gallini, then I think maybe he might be one who moves on, to be honest. But I'd start him as second choice as it stands, just over Bunn, just because of his age and his recent Championship experience. He definitely needs to add to the squad, but I think he is going to have to trim it first. So I think if people like Gabby don't move on, I'm not 100% convinced we'll see a striker coming in when Gabby is on 50 grand a week, because we can't afford to be paying people 50 grand a week who aren't contributing. So yeah, if Gabby doesn't go, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't see a striker in before the season starts. It might be the case of bringing someone in near a deadline day, or actually on deadline day. But the squad's too big. It needs trimming. There'll be people that move on. There'll be people who I personally don't want to move on, like maybe Ayew or Westwood. I know Westwood polarises opinions, but I'll probably get asked about that now I've mentioned him. But people will move on who perhaps are some of our better players. So yeah, the squad needs trimming, and there will be people coming in shortly after that, I would imagine. What do I think the starting lineup against Bristol Rovers on Wednesday will be like? It's difficult, to be honest. I think it's difficult to judge, because it could be a case of playing two teams so one team in one half, one team in the next half. I'd expect maybe, as I mentioned earlier, to start to get an idea of what the back four will be. I mean, I don't know whether Rakore was injured. I don't think he was playing. I might be completely wrong, but I don't think he played today. It could be a case of Elphick and Baker, seeing whether they could blossom as a partnership. I think they could. I mean, I think we saw last season that our core was so weak. We need to start getting in place a spine. So I'd expect, obviously, Gallini, the goalkeeper, Elphick and Baker. You've got Tishabola. Maybe Gardner's going to come in and play next to him, and that's going to be the spine. And then Grealish playing off Ayew. I think we need to start getting a spine ready. And the season's not that far away now. It'll be here before we know it. So it wouldn't surprise me, to see Grealish off Ayew, and then you've got Elphick and Baker, and trying to get an idea of the spine with the rest rotating. And obviously, as I've said, there is still players to come in. Right, I'm just going to have a quick drink before I answer Josh Pallett's question. So Josh Pallett 12 tweeted in saying, is Tishabola strong enough to take Garner's place if he leaves? I think Garner's main attribute isn't strength, where I think Tishabola's main attribute probably is his strength and his power. I mean, he's a big lad for a midfielder, and I think that's a good thing, because I think we have lacked a bit of size in midfield. We've been a bit run over too easy in the Premier League, and obviously the Championship's a bit of rough and tumble as well. So there's a chance that we could get run over there as well. I think someone like him in the spine, as I've just mentioned, I think that's a good thing. Although he's not played a load of games in the Championship, he has obviously got Championship experience, which is going to be invaluable to us. I'd be shocked if he's not in the starting lineup come day one. I mean, we've obviously spent £5 million on him, which in the olden days probably isn't a lot of money, but for us now in the Championship, that's a heavy investment for a young, relatively unproven midfielder. But there was Premier League interest in him, so he's obviously looks like he's ready to play, and it's good that he's chose to come to us and try and establish himself rather than go into the Premier League and maybe sitting on the bench. So he obviously thinks his shortcut to play in the Premier League is with us, get us up in one season, establish himself. I'm looking forward to seeing him, to be honest, see more of him. He seems like a good character and a good laugh off the pitch. So I think he is ready, and Garner will go. I don't think Garner will stay. There'll be too much interest in him. He was, I mean, not a lot to choose from there, but he was one of our better performers, and there'll be someone will come in for him. And I mean, I know Leicester have signed that other French guy to replace Kante, but they need a squad, and Garner is a Kante light, if you like. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him go to Leicester. It really wouldn't. I was shot down on Twitter when I said that before, but his stats are the closest to Kante's that were in the Premier League last season. So Garner will go, and I'm saying nearly 100%, as long as he's not injured. Tishabola whose name for some reason I still cannot say, despite doing a whole piece on it for the Villa View. He will start the season for us. Bit of a ambiguous question here, saying between Keane and Davis, Hepburn, Murphy, and Gabby, who doesn't deserve the game time? Well, obviously that's Gabby, so we'll leave that one there. I think they'll probably play ahead of him, yes, of course. But if he doesn't get sold, as I've said, wouldn't surprise me to see him in the 18. This is apparently a really good question. So this is Simeon Beebe. A lot of people are saying that we will walk the Championship this year. However, the core of the side has not had a winning mentality for 4 years. Do you believe that we will go up or struggle in arguably the toughest division around? It's a good question. Not sure how to approach it. I don't think we'll walk the Championship. I think people are saying, "Oh, yeah, we're going to win the league," and obviously that would be very nice. But they've got to be realistic. If I was offered 6th now, I would absolutely snap your hands off, because, like you mentioned, that would mean that we've at least got a bit of a winning mentality. It would maybe mean that we'd staged a late run and got a bit of form and confidence, and then you never know what can happen in the playoffs. But seeing us in the playoffs, I think would probably give me a heart attack. So I'm not sure how much I want that to happen. But obviously, if I was offered it now, I would take it. We're obviously one of the favourites just because we've come down. I mean, you've got to remember, it'll be the same for Newcastle. It'll be the same for them. Everyone thinks Newcastle will walk it, but they're going to be suffering through the same fragility issues as we are. So I don't expect either of us to walk it. I mean, if I had to put money on a Championship team winning the league now, it would probably be Sheffield Wednesday or Brighton. I mean, I think Sheffield Wednesday is as tough a start as we could ask for, because their home record was exceptional last season. So, and obviously they were so close to going up. It's going to be so tough. I don't see us walking the league at all. And I think anyone that is a realistic Villa fan will think the same as me. I don't see us getting off to a fast start, to be honest, because I think we are going to have to adapt. It's a new manager. It's hopefully, fingers crossed, a new team. And if it isn't a new team, like Simeon mentioned, there is some fragility issues in there. I mean, the winning mentality over the last 4 years simply hasn't been there. We had a brief spurt under Sherwood when we had a settled side. We knew our formation. People knew what they wanted to do, and we had good players where we managed to get a run together. But I think that is the most important thing. We need to establish a spine. We need to establish a base, and we need to establish a settled system. Too often over the last few years at Villa Park, there's been a scattergun approach to picking a team and a scattergun approach to picking formations. I think the sign of a team panicking is when they go to 5 in the back, and we've done that a few times over the last few years, and it hasn't made us any more solid. So I think Di Matteo will know what he wants to do, and I'll be shocked if we get off to an amazing start, because it is going to be difficult to adapt. Those 2 home games that we've got in close quarters together will be absolutely massive. But Sheffield Wednesday, if I was offered a draw, I'd absolutely take it. Boniface, it says, wouldn't surprise me if Leicester came in for Gay now that Kante is off to Chelsea. I've already covered that one. Got another quick drink. Apologies, because my mouth is going very dry. It's just tough work, really tough work. Super Leeds TV 1. Nope, just Super Leeds TV. Where do you think Villa will finish next season? Who are Villa targeting for signings? First off, I have absolutely no idea who we're targeting for signings. I haven't really said either about who we're targeting. So I think, like I've said before, it is going to be a case of shipping people out and then getting people in. I mean, Ross McCormack's the only one that's really being mentioned. He's not for me, because I think he'll be 30 or 31 by the season starts. Yes, he scores goals, but we cannot afford to be spunking £15 million and someone who's only going to be with us for a couple of years, and we're not going to get that outlay back if we have to sell him. And we don't know whether that guy can do it in the Premier League if we do go up. I'm hoping that we'll finish in the top 6. Obviously, I mean, I don't want to be spending any more than one season in the Championship. I'm not being disrespectful, but Premier League is where it's at. And I think now you see some of the players and the managers that have joined the Premier League. It is a shame not to be a part of that. But on the other hand, for one season, I'd rather be travelling my 240-mile round trip to see a few wins than watching us fight another relegation battle, because I think last year was too much. I don't want to go through that again. It was just travelling that journey, it was horrible knowing that we weren't going to win. I mean, to be honest, I was travelling basically because I love the club, to spend time with my dad, and just out of habit. It was just ridiculous. I just want to go to Villa Park and I want to enjoy myself, and that will be a good start for me. Personally, I think Leeds have actually done some good business so far. I think Rob Green in goal is a decent signing. He obviously knows his way around the Championship. I think Gary Monk is a good manager, but Leeds, I don't want to talk too much about Leeds, obviously, because it's a Villa show, but Leeds have just got a nutcase owner. Even if Gary Monk's got them in the top 6 going into Christmas, you could end up getting the sack. So it'd be good to see Leeds challenging with Villa as well, because they are 2 big clubs who deserve to have better than what they've been served up. Leeds have obviously had it far tougher than us, but I worry that we could end up like that if we don't get up quite quickly. But hopefully the new ownership will help us move up quickly. Dan, what is this about the Toy Story Cup that you love? I do love it. It has had more Villa appearances than Kozak. Basically, I'm just quite clumsy. I'm a bit like Jolly and Lescott. So if I have a glass, that glass will end up on the floor. So that is why I drink out of a plastic kids cup. And yeah, it'd be nice to see Kozak get some games if he does stay, because that guy's had no luck with injuries as well. I mean, I've said before, he only has to step foot in Bodymore Heath or look at a football and he's injured. So it'd be nice to see Kozak get more appearances than my Toy Story Cup. Yes. Daniel Byron, sorry if I've said your name wrong. If you could only have one next season, Gardner or Westwood is the first combo he's given me. That is difficult, because people know, rightly or wrongly, that I do like Westwood, and I do think in a team that was doing better, he would stand out. And I think maybe the Championship will suit him a bit. But I want to desperately see Gary Gardner do something for Villa. I want to see him make it. He loves the club. He's got a thunderbolt strike on him, and we haven't had a midfielder who can score goals for way too long. And I think Gary Gardner could be that player. And obviously Gardner, he has got that Championship experience. He's Championship ready with his experience at Forest over the last few years. And I think also Gardner would end up going somewhere like Forest, which might make them better. So if I had to pick, as much as I do like Westwood, and he is one of my favourite players, which I know is not a popular view, I'd have to say Gardner, to be honest. Gabby or Sinclair, that's like asking me at the moment with the form they're both on whether I'd rather have sickness or diarrhoea. Again, it's not going to probably be a popular view, but I'm going to say Sinclair, actually, just because if he does get some form back, then he has proved that he can do it in the Championship. I think he scored something like 23 to 25 goals for Swansea, and he does know where the goal is. He does tend, you don't see him missing many chances. When he does get the chance, he does tend to score, but it's just a fact of getting him in the position in the first place. And I've said before, if you're going out with Helen Flanagan, your confidence should be absolutely sky high, but his confidence is like he's going out with, I can't even think of a dodgy woman celebrity to name, but not Helen Flanagan. His confidence is not what it should be. Yeah, Sinclair over Gabby. Obviously, Gabby has been a disgrace last season. I know I shouldn't want to give him any more chances, and if he goes, I won't shed a tear. But if he stays, for some reason, I know it's wrong, but I can handle that. But if I had to choose out of the two at the moment, it would probably be Scott Sinclair. And the other combination I've been given is a tough one again. Akore or Baker. Probably Baker. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Baker, to be honest, and I know I keep harping on about it, but he's played in the Championship last season, and I kind of want to call Akore's bluff a bit, really, because he's saying he's happy to stay. Oh yeah, he probably is happy to stay because he's probably on Premier League money, and he's only got 1 year left on his contract. But I don't know well with me the thought of him playing well this season with the Championship. Obviously, if we go up, that's great, but it doesn't sit well. Him sitting on his contract and rolling it down, playing well for us, and then going on and moving somewhere else for free in the summer. I don't like that. So I'd call his bluff and say, okay, if you're happy to stay, here's a contract on the same money. I expect you'll sign it, but I know that football does not work like that. I'm not naive enough to think that. I've always had a soft spot for Baker. I think he can be a good player. I think his problem, like I mentioned with Kozak, is getting a run of games together, but he did get a run of games together for Bristol last season. So, yeah, Baker for me over Akore, and Baker and Elphick would be my starting centre-back pairing, but I think it probably will be Akore and Elphick if they're both fit. Right. Just having a look through. Going to have another one. Right, got something about Grealish here. You mentioned Grealish as player of the season for the Championship next season. If it wasn't him, who else do you think has a shot at winning that accolade? Probably Amarvi, if he stays fit. He's a very, very naturally gifted footballer. Very, very good going forward. I think he's pretty nifty with both feet as well, to be honest, from what I've seen. So if Amarvi stays fit, he should tear up that league like Grealish, to be honest. I think if you've got, you saw Grealish and Amarvi link up in the Blues win last season. I think they're two players that can be very, very special for us this season. I think if you've got Ayew as well, that's three players who are definitely way, way too good for the Championship. So, yeah, Amarvi would be the closest to Grealish, I'd say, in terms of ability in our squad. So I'd expect him to end up in the Championship team of the year if he plays to his full potential. I think that's it now. I think we're going to wrap it up. It was a pretty long one last week. I don't think we want to make it as long as it was before. But yeah, if you liked this, then please comment below. Please give it a like when it appears on the Villa View YouTube. Sorry if we didn't answer your questions. I'll probably answer a few on Twitter later now after I've had something to eat because I'm absolutely starving. Yeah, thanks for watching. Let us know if it worked. Let us know if it didn't work, and keep supporting us, because the people that subscribe, the people that comment, they're the ones that now are making this channel what it is. And it is, for me and Matt, to do this is really enjoyable. Talking about Villa with Villa fans is something I've always wanted to do. So yeah, cheers. Hope everyone has a good Saturday night, and up the Villa.